Hello, my name is Callum. Welcome to Stupid Canada, the show that doesn't require much explanation. Canada's stupid. I talk about it. Okay, you're up to speed. Moving on. In not so stupid news, don't worry, it gets stupid. Let him finish. The Liberal government has announced legislation that will require pro-life pregnancy centers with charitable status to disclose the fact that they don't perform abortions. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the rationale behind this legislation is that these centers often intentionally mislead those with unwanted pregnancies by not being transparent about the services they do and don't provide. Unsurprisingly, this announcement has received pushback from pro-life organizations, with the Campaign Life Coalition, for example, throwing a very public temper tantrum over the proposed legislation. The legislation, again, being that registered charities be transparent about the charitable services they provide. Let's dive into this statement from the Campaign Life Coalition, which seeks to demonize what seems like very reasonable legislation.
The legislation would require pro-life pregnancy resource centers that help women facing a crisis pregnancy to state clearly that they don't offer abortion or abortion referrals. Centers risk losing their charitable status, which would force many of them to close.
So, I don't know about you, but to me, this reads like an admission that these centers aren't being transparent and they are trying to trick pregnant people, as Trudeau stated. Like, only ones that lie should lose charity status, so why would they need to close if they're not lying? Right? Whatever, let's keep going.
Regarding the legislation itself, the vast majority of pro-life pregnancy centers already disclose that they don't commit or refer for abortions.
Okay, but this is about the ones that lie. So what's the problem here?
Furthermore, the legislation unfairly targets specific charities for failing to align with a particular ethical perspective.
Okay, well, this part's true. The ethical perspective being charities shouldn't lie about the services they're providing, which, again, sounds pretty reasonable to me. But this isn't just a general statement from the Anti-Choice Club, the Campaign Life Coalition. It's a statement specifically calling on their friend and ally, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, to fulfill his promise to protect these anti-choice organizations. A promise that Pierre Poilievre did indeed make in an email to Don Plemel. Don't know who that is, don't care. Fuck you, Don. Pierre stated,
I will stand up.
Hang on, let me put on my Pierre voice.
I will stand up against attempts by the government to attack organizations that help pregnant women.
A statement interpreted by Twitter user Pro-Life Canadian Man, super cringe, might as well call himself creep, uterus police, to mean that Pierre Poilievre will defend pro-life pregnancy centers. And this tweet from amateur uterus policeman, pro-life Canadian man, of course got retweeted by the official uterus police department, the Campaign Life Coalition, which, if you're unaware, is an organization that supports legislation to criminalize abortion in Canada and documents members of parliament that agree with them. Which is fucking gross, obviously, but the silver lining is that it functions as a registry for every MP that's an absolute piece of shit. Seriously, the website is just a list of politicians with a color-coded ranking system to discern just how anti-choice each of them are. And it's actually sort of accidentally a helpful resource in identifying these walking pieces of human garbage. Like, just enter the name of an MP on this website and it gives you a breakdown with citations of how terrible they are. Needless to say, the Campaign Life Coalition, the Forced Birth Federation, the Anti-Choice Amalgamation, the Incel Alliance was very excited about Pierre's promise to defend the predatory practices of these anti-choice pregnancy centers, and ready to weaponize it against anyone, namely the Liberals, trying to regulate these organizations. And if Pierre's promise to defend these anti-choice creeps is something that surprises you, like anti-abortion shit is only something conservative politicians do in the United States, well, then you're not paying enough attention. Because while Pierre himself has shared that he's personally pro-choice, Despite a relatively anti-choice record over his 20 years in Parliament, he's been adamant about the fact that anti-choicers are welcome in the party. And he has no problem with members of his caucus bringing forth anti-abortion private members' bills. And there are a large amount of anti-choicers in the Conservative Party, which I know in part thanks to the uterus police over at Campaign Life Coalition. Thanks, psychos. And Pierre seems to be staying true to his ass-backwards freedom of choice on whether or not people should be allowed freedom of choice position. In 2023, Conservative MP Cathay Wagantall introduced a bill criticized by pro-choice opponents as a fetal rights bill. This, coming after Roe v. Wade was overturned in the United States, somewhat revived abortion rights as a discussion point in Canadian politics. Then, in May of this year, Conservative MP Arnold Viersen spoke on a podcast about how he wants to make abortion fully illegal in Canada.
Certainly prioritizing a woman's right to choose.
So if they pick a line, introduce a piece of legislation, and they pick a line, I vote for that. I vote for that bill.
And if the line is moment of conception, you vote for that bill.
I'm 100% pro-life. So, yeah.
Ick. This came just a few weeks after he brought forth an anti-choice petition in the House of Commons.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to present a petition today signed by Canadians from across the country. These Canadians are concerned about the nearly 100,000 preborn children who die every year since the Morgentaler decision. Canada is only one of two nations in the world that have zero laws protecting the preborn. They also note that a child's heartbeat begins when the child is 6 weeks old, and they are calling on the Government of Canada and this place to strengthen the protections for the preborn in Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Double ick. Wasn't so much a petition as him just whining about people getting access to abortion care, but it was signed by a bunch of presumably conservative voters, so I guess it was technically a petition. I guess anything can be a petition these days, whether it has a stated goal or not. My petition is that Arnold Viersen is a fucking idiot creep that wants to police women's bodies because he's an incel. Comment below to sign my petition. But Cathay Wagantall and Arnold Viersen aren't the only anti-choice members of the Conservative Party. Far from it. In fact, Conservatives voting unanimously in favor of Cathay Wagantall's fetal rights bill made it clear there's not a single Conservative MP in Canada, according to the Abortion Rights Coalition of Canada. Not to be confused with the Campaign Life Coalition of Canada, which is basically the opposite. Liberal MP Karina Gold actually spoke on this recently and evidently got these two organizations mixed up.
We've already seen women's rights move backwards in the United States. There are many states in the United States that have taken away a woman's right to choose, taken away a woman's right to access health care and her right to an abortion. And in Canada, we should not be ignorant to the fact that that is exactly what many members of the Conservative Party of Canada want to do here. In fact, the Campaign Life Coalition has stated that there is not a single MP that is pro-choice in the Conservative Party of Canada. So not for a minute should we expect that that's not something that could happen here in Canada, and we should be alive to that fact and be standing up for women's rights.
And the Campaign Life Coalition was apparently offended by this, stating,
Liberal MP Karina Gold, leader of the government in the House of Commons, spread misinformation about the Campaign Life Coalition in a recent interview. Her exact words: the Campaign Life Coalition has stated that there is not a single MP that is pro-choice in the Conservative Party of Canada. The fact is that only 40 MPs are rated by us as pro-life. We call on Miss Gold to retract her statement and apologize for spreading misinformation.
And to me, this is a weird hill to die on. All of you guys are weird anti-choice creeps. No, only the vast majority of us are weird anti-choice creeps. Fuck you. And while pro-life stances have been a fringe but consistent part of Canadian politics for a long time, they seem to be picking up more steam lately in direct relation to the US overturning Roe v. Wade. Something the previously mentioned MP Arnold Viersen celebrated in a vlog that he filmed in a parking lot.
This is something that I know that many people have been praying for a very long time for the overturn of Roe versus Wade. The pro-life movement in the United States has been working hard on this for generations, and it feels so good to have a win.
Triple ick. Typical incel behavior here, by the way. Like super normal stuff from the Conservative Party. So evidently, due to the overturning of Roe v. Wade, anti-abortion politics are back on the table, not just in the United States, but in Canada too. If you're unaware, the overturning of the Supreme Court decision Roe v. Wade, accomplished in large part due to the Supreme Court appointees of President-elect Donald Trump, oh my god, I hate that sequence of words so much, removes federal restrictions on abortion, making it a states' rights issue. And America, being so influential globally, but also the only country in our sphere of influence, does a lot to drive the political discourse in Canada. Their Overton window shifts to the right, ours quickly follows. Abortion politics creep their way back into the American discourse, it's completely unsurprising they creep into Canada too. But it's not just on a federal level. This is happening provincially as well. The most prominent example of this is probably Danielle Smith's Alberta government handing over hospitals to a private Catholic entity which doesn't allow its staff to perform abortions. Something that certainly violates the Canada Health Act, as pointed out by NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, who has urged the Liberal Party to do something, literally anything about it, specifically their fucking job, and enforce the Canada Health Act. But we'll see, I guess. I talked about that situation in Alberta at length in a previous video, which you can watch somewhere in the comments or linked on screen in this video if I remember to do that, or you can just look up episode 2 of this.
Thank you guys for watching. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing to my Patreon and supporting the creation of them, like these very fine people, some of which are still subscribed, others have maybe decided to take a break, and others maybe just decided they don't want anything to do with it anymore, and that's cool too. In any case, thank you so much for the support. That's Brian, Cameron, Roma Army, Jillian, M, Laura Lee, Fahad, Margaret, Mike, Andy, Maya, Colleen, David, Deborah, Derek, Left of Boom, Linda, Rob, SD, Aaron, Angelique, Colin, Dean, Elaine, Faulty, Ian, Jean-Paul, Jeffrey, Jennifer, Jeff, Jody, Joshua, Lori, Mickey, Mohammed, Vern, Liz, Norma, Sarah, Stephanie, Sean, Susan, Margot, Sal, Maurice and Marion, and Yvonne. Thank you guys so much, and thank you for your patience on this one. I feel like this took me forever to do, like longer than usual. I don't know why, but I mean, that's the way it goes sometimes. Hopefully another one next week, the weekend, whenever I can get it out to you. Love you. Okay, bye.